Maybe they'll go in the water to cool down. Maybe the tortoises will go in a burrow. Maybe they'll go under some leaf litter. But they just have to move around to change that body temperature. Next thing has to do with what's all over their skin. What do reptiles have all over them? They have scales. Their bodies are completely covered in scales. Mammals, we have hair or fur, but reptiles are completely covered in scales. The last thing has to do with where baby reptiles come from. Does anybody know? How about the younger audience? Where do baby reptiles come from? The mud? No. It also has to do with where baby birds come from. If you think about where baby birds come from, where they hatch from, they come from eggs. That's right. All reptiles come from eggs in one form or another. They're all cold-blooded, and they all have scales. Now, I think we're ready for our first reptile. And our first reptile is a ball python. This ball python's name is Chelsea. Ball pythons come from the forests of Africa. You guys are going to get a nice up-close look at Chelsea. You can even feel her if you want. You can touch her. Just look at her head. You're going to see some things that snakes have. See that tongue?
You guys want to touch?
You see those eyes?
Keep the head away.
You're going to see some things that snakes are missing.
Want to touch?
Snakes are missing things, especially around their heads. Does anybody know what a snake is missing? No, they all have backbones, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. I'll give you guys a hint. It has to do with their eyes. Look at Chelsea's eyes. You're going to notice she's not closing them. They're always open. Eyelids, that's right. Snakes are missing eyelids. Their eyes are always open, even when they're sleeping. But what they do have is a clear scale that covers that eye. It's called a spectacle or an eye cap. And that's going to keep that eye nice and safe and protected. And it's also going to shed that eye cap when it sheds its whole body.
Good job. Good.
How about here? You guys want to touch?
When you guys touched, what did she feel like? Was she slimy? No, not really. Some people think that snakes are slimy, but they're not slimy at all. They're shiny. They shine, and then people get confused. They think they're slimy, they think they're gross, and they're afraid of them, but they're not slimy at all. So you guys may have noticed Chelsea's missing one other thing, and that has to do with her ears. She has no ears. Snakes don't have ears. They can't hear you. What they can do is when they're slithering on the ground, they can feel vibrations with their lower jawbone. And that lets them know when an animal may be approaching them. Now this was Chelsea, or ball python. Our next snake is a native snake. It's a corn snake, or red rat snake. You may see these roaming around your yard, outside. Anyone seen a rat snake or a yellow rat snake? Or a corn snake or red corn snake? You have? Yeah, they're very common. These animals are very important because they're going to be controlling our rodent population. You guys like mice and rats running around your house? No. These guys are very important because they keep that population down. They're going to be eating that food source. So they're very important. So you definitely don't want to hurt that snake. If you see that snake outside, you just let it be because it's doing you a big favor. Okay, you guys will be able to touch this snake. It's very soft, very smooth.
Want to touch?
You're going to notice that snakes stick their tongue in and out. What do you think she's doing when she's sticking her tongue in and out? Smelling. She's smelling? What do you think? Licking the air? She's kind of like smelling and tasting. I think it's a combination of the both. What she's doing is she's got a forked tongue like this, and she sticks that tongue out of her mouth. She grabs little particles out of the air, and she brings those particles into her mouth. There's a special spot. It's called the Jacobson's organ, and that lets her know what's around her environment. Maybe there's a nice juicy rat back there she wants to grab. Or maybe there's an animal that might want to harm her. She's just trying to figure out what's going on.
Snakes want nothing to do with people. They do their own thing. They're not around people.
Yeah,
They do a really important job of keeping the rodent population down.
snake is a red-tailed boa or Colombian snake.
Yeah, that's what's all.
Now I'm gonna need some helpers for my snake. Because he's kind of big and he's kind of heavy and he just gets kind of heavy for us sometimes. I'm gonna need some help from some of you guys. Who wants to come up here? Who's brave enough to come up here and help hold our snake? How about you? 1, 2, 3, and 4. How about you guys come up here? You're gonna line up. You're gonna line up shoulder to shoulder. Real nice and close. You're gonna hold your hands out like this. I'll hold the head. Just in case. And then John's going to tell you a little bit about this boa.
Okay, this boa, her name is Ruby, and Ruby is a red-tailed boa. They're found in Central and South America, and she's around 7 feet long, but they get to be bigger than this. They can get to be about 10 to 12 feet long. That's a really big constricting snake. Now, constricting, that just means it's got a really cool way of eating its food. What it's going to do is it's going to bite down onto its prey. Inside of this mouth, it has rows of teeth that are facing backwards. They're like backwards facing fishing hooks. It bites into its prey, holds onto that animal, preventing it from escaping from its mouth. Then it wraps coils of this strong and muscular body. You guys see how strong it is? You can hardly keep that snake in one place. It's all muscle. It's going to wrap around that animal and squeeze down. It's going to squeeze down until that animal is no longer alive, until its heart can stop beating. Once that prey animal is good and dead, it's going to swallow it whole. And she swallows everything. The bones, the fur, the whole thing gets swallowed down. And that's important, because that's where it gets all of its nutrition, right from that one nice little packaged up meal. Now, one other thing I just wanted to show you guys is how flexible snakes are. You can see this snake is bent and twisted in a variety of different ways, and that's because snakes have more backbone, or more vertebrae than you and I have. A snake can have 300 to 400 backbones. Each one is a flexible spot or a flexible joint that lets that animal bend and twist. That's how they're able to be really, really flexible like that. One last thing about snakes like this is that sometimes people think of a snake as a little tiny head and a great big long tail. But that's not the case at all. A snake's got a head and a neck up in this front section. The tail, that's this little bit that's trying to hang on to him here at the end. The rest of this animal is her body. And she's got the same types of body organs and body systems that you and I have inside of us. It's just in a different, longer, and more stretched out format. It's really not just a head and a great big long tail. No, you don't be concerned. She won't do anything.
All right, guys. Thank
That's
you
the end
so
you gotta
much.
watch
You guys
there.
did such a good job. All right, so we saw our snakes. Our next group of reptiles are lizards. Now we said our snakes were missing some things, especially around their heads. Who remembers what snakes are missing? Ears and eyelids. That's exactly right. Well, our lizards, they have ears and they have eyelids. You're going to see them blinking. You're going to see them winking if you look up close. You're going to see on either sides of their heads, they have little holes or little openings. Those are their ears. So that's a way that you can tell the difference between a snake and a lizard. Not all lizards have legs. I don't know if you guys knew that, but not all lizards have legs. We have some legless lizards right here in Florida. So you might get confused. So you're going to look for those eyelids. You're going to look for the ears.
Now this first lizard is a type of lizard known as a tegu, and this one is a black and white tegu. Now this animal is actually become an invasive animal right here in our area. A few miles south from here, we'll find these guys. Also all over the Miami area, you'll hear about these guys. They're black and white tegus. They can be a little aggressive. This particular one is a wild one, so he is a little more anxious. He will bite. They've got that nice black and white pattern. This guy's probably about 1.5 years old. They get to be a lot bigger than this. And they eat a variety. They're opportunistic animals.